Today I'm going to make a bottle of what they call hobo wine. So hobo wine is really just 100% grape juice. So if you look in the ingredients, you'll actually see no added sugar, which is good. So when you get 100% real grape juice, I've done a couple of these before, and depending on the alcohol content, you'll probably get about 14% alcohol content. So what I want to do, again from before, is add about a cup of sugar. This doesn't have to be perfect. 1/4 teaspoon of yeast. You can use champagne yeast. I just tend to use bread yeast. What you're going to need is a bubbler, but unfortunately I don't have any bubblers or airlocks, so I'm going to use a rubber glove. This should work just as well. And I'm going to add the 64 ounces, 2 quarts, in this jar. And once I've done with that, I'll go ahead and put the bubbler on it and show you what it looks like. So here I am using a funnel. Doesn't have to be anything special. Let's go ahead and get this poured in. You don't have to add any water. You don't have to do anything else to it. Just add this and the sugar and the yeast. Go ahead and shake it up. Put the bubbler on it. Since it's spring, it's starting to get nice and sunny out. Normally I'll leave this just in the house, but you get a lot better reaction if I put it out in the sun. So I'm going to put it out in the sun, and in about 2 weeks we'll have 2.5 bottles of wine. Right, so now if you look at it, you can see the sugar is down at the bottom of this. I'm going to go ahead and shake it and get everything mixed up. It doesn't have to be heated. It doesn't have to be warm water. Basically just have to shake it up. And the reason you want an airlock is you want to get all the CO2 out, but you don't want to let anything come back in. So putting a bubbler in will restrict it. So we're going to use a glove. You can use a balloon, but a rubber surgical glove. Let's see if that works. I'll let that sit. I'll go ahead and I'll put the surgical glove on here once I poke a hole in it, and then I'll keep checking back every once in a while, see what's going on with it. Alright, so nothing fancy here. Just poked a hole in one of the fingers of the glove, put a rubber band around it. I'm going to shake it a little bit more, make sure that everything gets nice and mixed up. I'll probably shake it a couple times as it's going through the fermenting process. Check on it in a week or so. This will, outside this is going to blow up. There's the hole in it. You can see that. And the air is going to escape through here. Nothing's going to get back in. And in about 2.5, 3 weeks, we're going to have 2 bottles of some good Concord wine. So here's the wine after 12 hours. Get a nice close zoom, and you can see that foaming. That's the yeast eating the sugars, and again the byproduct being alcohol. So we'll just let this sit, and when this stops bubbling, probably in 2 weeks, 7 to 10 days, 2 weeks, something like that, and it'll be ready to drain, strain. You want to get all the particulates out. Some people drain it twice, and then it's ready for bottling. Alright, so a couple things to remember when you're making your own wine. Number one, you need to keep everything clean, sanitized. Even though this stuff's been sitting around for a while, I'll wash it in warm soapy water, rinse it, try to dry it out. What I also want to try with the grape is you can really make wine from anything. So I've gone ahead and crushed a bunch of strawberries. We're going to go ahead and put the strawberries, see if it'll go in here. This is the first time I've done this. And instead of using a whole cup of sugar, I'll probably use a 1/2 cup of sugar just because this is a lot smaller. 1/4 teaspoon of yeast. Again, any yeast is going to do. And then when this is done, I'll go ahead and show the progress of the grapes that we started. Alright, next thing I'm going to do is add some sugar to this. Again, around a 1/2 cup. A little more, a little less. This is trial and error. I'm not exactly sure how this is going to turn out, but we'll see. One of the reasons I like these smaller containers is I've talked to people and they've made 5 or 6 gallons of wine. They don't like the wine, then they end up throwing it out, giving it away. So I want to try doing this in a little smaller. And since we have the bottom of this high C jar, I just have a feeling I'm going to need a little more Well, that's a little too much concentrate, so I'll go ahead and add maybe half a quart of water to that. Get as much of the strawberries out as we can. Doesn't really need to be that thick. I'm going to add this is a bubbler or a trap. You can see the water levels on there. The CO2 is going to come up, bubble through here. It's only going to let air out. It's not going to let anything back in. And one of the things with wine is we're going to add well, you have the yeast in here, but what the yeast is going to do, that's going to eat all the sugars. It's going to turn the sugars into alcohol. And of course the alcohol is what we're going to drink. Alright, so I add a little more water to this. Again, you can see the consistency as I'm shaking it. It's not a thick mixture. Pretty much what we had with the grape juice. Again, the grape juice was 100% grape juice. We're going to let that sit. We're going to put the lock on it. I'm going to set it in the sun. And I'm going to come back and check on it. Again, I'll give you an update here in a couple days. Alright, so if you notice on top here, there'll be a series of vents. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a piece of paper towel over it. I'm going to tape that, because what I found is if you don't do that and this thing sits outside or even inside, you're going to get fruit flies down inside your bubbler, which I don't want to contaminate it with it. Well, here I think you can see the bubbling. So this is actually doing pretty well. You can see the glove on top. Air is escaping through that, but nothing's able to get back in. This is the strawberry one. That one's also starting to bubble. And if you see, that's the water level. You'll see a bubble. Air bubble will come right up through there. That tells you that that's working. So again, keep after this. Bubble's ready to go. And it's not a lot of air coming through there. No, I'm not going to catch it. Anyway, that's fermenting. The grapes are fermenting pretty well. And we'll just keep seeing what's going on. Come back in a couple days. Alright, so here's what the strawberries look like after a full day in the sun. You can see the bubbling is a lot faster. I think it's count as like every 7 seconds for the bubble is when it's done. There you can see a bubble go there. 7 seconds or some number like that. Again, whenever it stops bubbling, that's when you know it's time to stop and drain. Siphon it out with a siphon and filter it. I use coffee filters for that. You can use cheesecloth if you want, and then bottle it. Well, overnight the lid, the airlock blew off of this, and all this foam came out of here. So I found out this morning. So what I did is I put a piece of paper towel over it, and that way I'll keep the bugs and stuff out. I guess until this starts to calm down, that'll be okay. We'll put the airlock back on. The grapes are doing well. You can still see the bubbles. So I think the heat has a lot to do with that. You can see the bubbles churning. So that's doing pretty well. I actually put another piece of paper towel in here because I didn't want the ants crawling through the hole in the end of the glove. So that's coming along nicely.